Hello, I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl who looked good.
Hello and welcome to the SC Ballers Q&A podcast. I'm your host and coach of the Terrace crew, Matt Ricks. Somber day here. I want to say in New South Wales. I'm actually in Victoria, but for all New South Wales, all New South Welshmen and Welsh women, Queensland too good last night. Joining me to dissect the SuperCoach Origin fallout and all your questions for this week, it's Coach of the Haas-Beans, high-flying Jono. Welcome to the Q&A, mate. I think this is a pod debut for the Q&A for you.
It is. I'm looking forward to it. Finally, someone's going to give some answers without using the words team dependent. I'm just going to give some clear-cut opinions, cut around all your fence-sitting that you like to do on this pod, Matt, and try and pick up from where Danny Boy leaves off because he always gives very clear opinions. So hoping I can fill that void.
I'm just trying to fill the void of someone finally wants some advice, direct advice off yourself, mate. So congratulations.
We'll see if they still do after this.
Mate, let's get straight into the Origin fallout from overnight. First of all, what'd you make of the performance from the Blues?
Oh, I was absolutely shattered. That first half was terrible. A lot of people blaming the referee, but I didn't see the referee being ill-disciplined and dropping the ball all the time. So a little bit of a glimmer of hope there at the end, Matty. Were you just as disappointed as me?
Yeah, I thought they probably, they threw it away with some very poor defensive reads in the first half. The Munster try, especially Gus Crichton, got caught out badly there. Trell for one of the hammer tries as well. Yeah. And I think you're right. I think it was a little bit over the top, the penalty count in the first half, but most of them were deserved. A couple of them were like the Cleary no try and, the Lomax elbow and things like that. So there were, blatant penalties. But, they could have snatched it with some better goal kicking. So, yeah, I think they should be too good for them back in Sydney. I think Queensland need a lot to go right for them to be in it. So
yeah, I don't think it could have gone worse for New South Wales, and Queensland still only just won by 2 points. So I feel pretty confident too. Although I felt pretty confident coming into the game last night. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, not too much fallout today, Origin-wise, for SuperCoach relevant players. So Payne Haas got, he said that he went into the game with a groin injury. Both him and Cleary had groin injuries. Cleary obviously not named to back up. Haas has said today that he is planning to back up, but obviously that groin injury throws a little bit of that into doubt. We'll see what Madge Maguire wants to do. Madge not really known for his resting policies, Jono.
No, he's never been a fan of resting. I think he looks at it as a soft characteristic, Madge. But I would say that even if Payne does play, you would have to imagine they try and manage his minutes. Like coming off the last Origin, Payne backed up. And it did look like with the way the rotations were going that his minutes were going to be down around the kind of 45 to 50 mark. But then they had an injury and he ended up playing up around 65. So I imagine that even if he does take the field, we should be expecting around 50 minutes. Certainly not a captaincy option this week.
Yeah, that will be interesting. I'm going to leave him on my bench and just be ready to take the reserve off him if he does sit. I would suggest that if you can manage that, that will be the way to go. Tino Fasil-Malawi, Des at the press conference today said it is the plan for him to back up. He's just going to see how he pulls up, whether it's starting or bench. So that's good signs for his owners. The Storm have said that Munster, Grant will back up, even though wow. I think Harry, they might still be a bit more cautious just with that hammy. But yeah, plan for Munster to back up. Xavier Coates may not back up. They rarely back him up, so I'd be shocked if he played. Bobby T, Robert Toyer, I would suggest he'll back up. Kalen Ponga, their game's in Perth, so unless that ankle is causing him any issues, he will back up. Hudson Young, interesting one. He played pretty big minutes, John. I thought he went really well last night.
Oh, he was tremendous. I thought one in New South Wales, strongest, toughest on ground. I find it interesting with him backing up because they play on the Friday night. So obviously a really quick turnaround for Podson. But the other question mark I would have is, do they need him to back up? The Raiders' biggest strength is the depth of their forward pack. They've got Simi Sasangi, who's been playing really good footy. I could just see them giving him a big minutes game. So I would not be surprised if he was rested at all.
Yeah, a bit of a banana skin for the Raiders away at Campbelltown. Tigers historically haven't performed that well at Campbelltown, but I think if they take it a bit easy, Tigers have got everything to play for this week. Both teams coming off the bye, so it should be a good game. And we will see Ree Hudson. Jerome Luai said that he's planning to back up today. And then the last of the really relevant guys, Connor Watson, you would think with playing only sort of 15, 20 minutes last night, that he would back up for the Roosters this Sunday, I believe they're playing. Jono, would you expect any changes for the Blues? You would have to thought Stefano's place and maybe Max King's place are in a little bit of doubt.
Look, watching that game, Keon Kaloa-Matangi has to come into that side if he's all good with his face. So I think that people hoping to have him as around 18 number, to me, the confidence around that definitely took a hit last night. I'm expecting him to be in that New South Wales team. I think he should be, and I would not be counting him as a reliable number if he's fit.
Yep. I think that's pretty spot on. Hopefully we get to see Keon this weekend. If not, he should be back hopefully next week. We'll see how that all plays out. All right, let's get into the questions for tonight, Jono, and we got some barn burners in here. First up, it's from the SC Whisperer, very popular content creator out there in SuperCoach land, and he wants to know who would be the first eliminated in a SuperCoach Creator Royal Rumble, and why is it Aman talks NRL SuperCoach?
Yeah, Matt, I haven't met Aman. I'm basically basing it purely off his online persona and the watch along that he did with yourself and Tubes a couple of weeks ago for Baller. He seems like the world's nicest man. Well, I don't know what Whisperer has beef with him. I would not be eliminating Aman. I'd be looking after him. I feel like I'd want to protect him and that hair. So the hair
has undefeated popularity and it would get the crowd going. So there's no way that the WWE would write Aman off first.
No way. He's a baby face, to use a WWE technical term.
Correct.
Matt, I think you and I both have the same man in mind who we would like to eliminate first. I'll let you take it.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it's got to be Tubes, doesn't it? In my mind, the Rumble starts with Guru and Tubes in the ring. Just face it off.
Oh, because you're thinking like not a battle royal where everyone's in the ring together. It's every 3 minutes another man comes down to the ring.
Yeah, the Royal Rumble style.
Yep,
correct.
Yep.
So I've got Tubes starting in the ring and Guru jumping in, and then they're just at it. Guru's agility probably not the best, but he would just be sort of standing in that center circle and then just heaving Tubes around. So I'm gonna go Tubes. I'm gonna go Tubes first eliminated. Although in a battle royale situation, I wouldn't have thought I would stand much chance, and so I'd be chucked straight out. I would have thought.
Yeah, but you might not be looked at as a threat, so that might keep you around a bit longer. You
that's
might
true.
take out the threats first. I got to say the winner, Matt, from the baller perspective, is I don't think either of the Ricks boys, you, Tubes or Danny Boy, or myself, I don't think any of us are taking down C-Mac. I think he's the clear-cut favourite to win a baller battle royal.
If we're sending him in as if we've got to send one rep in, C-Mac's definitely our rep. What about the airtime for C-Mac on TV last night over in Perth? He made the trek over.
Got to clip that up. Get out on the socials. It was awesome. How good.
Yeah. Tough loss. It would have been all time if they'd managed to come back for him, the Blues. But anyway, all right, into the serious questions now, Jono. And Sammy Barros on Instagram writes in, who would you pick up instead of Drinky if you own Teddy and Paps? This is very pertinent this week. I'm going to say that I would go for, if I wasn't going Drinkwater, I'd probably go for Jerome Hughes in the flex there if you weren't a Hughes owner. I think Hughes is the best purchase this week. He plays all the bye rounds, plays every round from now on out. We've been copping a bit of stick that we're a week late on Jerome Hughes. I mean, I don't know exactly. Some shrewd super coaches certainly brought him in for his big score before the bye, but having the bye last week, I don't think that deters him as being a great purchase this week.
Oh, it's so funny you mentioned Jerome Hughes because when I looked at that question, immediately I start thinking fullbacks. Like I've got it so locked into my head that there's a flex. We must have 3 fullbacks that sometimes I don't even consider other guys. So I really like Jerome Hughes as a pickup. Some shrewd super coaches did bring in Jerome Hughes, and I was one of them for that big score. So I'm actually in agreement with those people, Matty. But I think he's still a fantastic pickup. The price is good for Jerome Hughes. I'm sure there's going to be more questions about him coming up, but I think he's a fantastic price. No more buys. He looks like he's starting to play really fit. Like the way he was taken on the line in that last game, he hadn't done that in weeks prior with that shoulder injury. So I'm huge on him, and I think he's a great purchase. I agree.
What about a fullback? Anyone piquing your interest away from those guys?
The one that I'm going to be bringing in this year, and I don't know if Sammy Barros needs one this week, but I'm really eyeing off Latrell Mitchell. I think he's going to be super under-owned. His price is so cheap. You and Danny Boy spent a bit of time talking about fullbacks the other day, and you mentioned guys like Chance Nickel-Klokstad, who I think is a good option too. Connor Tracy's a fantastic price, near 500K. But if I want that ultra premium, for me, Latrell Mitchell's being a little bit slept on. I think a lot of people back end are not going to have the trades to get him potentially. So I think if Sammy Barros can wait until post-origin period, I'd love to get Trell on the team.
big talking point this week, Jono, is around Tino. Now, with that news that it looks like he's going to back up, he's definitely still looking a bit busted, and his output last night was pretty not the best. Let's say he didn't have one of his better games, but
No.
there's a few questions here, so let's just get stuck into them. So Philip from Cronulla asks, thoughts re Tino, still a gun player, but he looks incredible. Looks noticeably injured despite being tough as. Is he worth holding or moving on? And then again, from outside of DR on X, he's saying, are we trading out Tino considering last night, possibly low minutes, high break even, questionable minutes going forward? Aaron Clark looks interesting at the price. And then Daniel Heath on Instagram asks, are Tino and Sharp sells? Tino looked absolutely crap in Origin, 9 runs for 58 metres and 1 tackle break. Where are you on the Tino conundrum this week, Jono?
I haven't even considered selling him. Like, I think he's a dependable player that I can keep in my team. I know the break even's really high. He's going to lose some cash, but that only matters if he ever gets hurt. I don't really care about what his value is. I think it'll level out over time. Look, I just think he's a gun, and all these people saying about how bad he looked. Do you think Tino hasn't heard that himself? I reckon he could come out and absolutely fire up this weekend. What do you think, Matty?
Yeah, I think with the news that he's going to play, if he wasn't playing, if there was news that he wasn't playing, I could get around it. And I do understand why super coaches are a little bit hesitant. He's $700K and you can use that money. You know, he's going to miss round 18, possibly 19. So just, I can see why people are a bit antsy with it. I will say that we don't know that he's actually injured. Like, no one said that he is injured here. Like, all we're basing it on is a little bit of scurrilous rumor post the last Titans game and then his performance last night. Now, whilst his output wasn't amazing, he didn't look injured. Like, he was still fronting up, you know, in the thick of it. So, like you said, I think I'd just rather given he's playing this week, I'd rather just hang on to him. If he loses a tiny bit of cash, I'm trying to keep him for the whole year. Like, he's that guy you want on your reserves bench that you can slot into second row as your fourth 2RF, or that you can nudge up to the front row forward at any given week.
Yeah, and you mentioned at the top of the show about Keon Kaloamatangi being a hold. The fact that he's going to get dual, you can just literally flip those two between each other, and you're always going to have a premium in either spot where you need them. Matt, do you have a thesaurus open? The word scurrilous. I don't even know if I've ever heard that word before. Fantastic. Well done.
I only ever used in conjunction with the word rumour for me, but I couldn't tell you the Oxford Dictionary definition, but I'm running with it today, mate. So
nice,
thanks
well
for
done.
that.
What about the Sharp part of that question? What do you think of Sharp? They asked if Sharp is a sell.
Yeah. I Sharp's not a sell now. Not that he's playing. I think last week, if you were going to sell him, at least you had a little bit on side there that he might not have backed up this week. He wasn't playing last week. His break even's manageable, 94. I'm going to hold Sharp for now. I think he can hurt too much with his ownership and his upside. We should see him again. As long as that calf comes back all right. I think it's, should be a fast track over there in Perth this week. I think he's a hold, personally.
Agree.
All right, let's move down now to a little bit of question from Michael Hucker, who won a prize on our watch along the other week. So g'day, Michael. He's got a merch pack coming his way. He has to play either Labutt or B. Smith this week. Who do you think scores more? That's a tricky one, Jono. What do you think while I get the baller projections up for this week?
Interesting to see what the projections say. Jono's projection says that Billy Smith outscores him pretty well. I think his base has kind of been a little bit back lately. His base went off for a few weeks. The last 3 weeks, he's been going all right in that regard. What's not happening is he's not scoring tries or assisting them. That has to change. He's on a 6-game no try scoring streak. He will get a try at some stage, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was against a leaky Cowboys team this week. So I'd be pretty firm on playing Billy Smith if I was Michael. What's the projection say?
Yeah, no, mate, that's right. Billy Smith projected 53 on baller projections, and Zachy Labutt only 45. So yeah, pretty
high
clear
projections
pretty
for both.
Clear. I mean, 53 is. I mean, it's with the way the projections work. It's like, it's taking into consideration that floor for Billy, which I thought Billy had an outstanding game last week, and he still only scored 35 or whatever.
One of their best.
So he just gets that little bit of attack, and it shoots up pretty quick. So, he just has struggled to get that attack. But yeah, they got the good fixture. Like, obviously versus Cowboys, they're the favourites. I think it's Billy all day there, Michael. I'm not going to try and pronounce this bloke on TikTok's name, but it starts with a G, and I should have checked this one out. But G, you're dry lol. Okay, that's a good one. I don't mind it. But he wants to know, or he or she, I'm not actually sure, wants to know, any thoughts on Britton Nickera? I saw he had his lowest price. He's at his lowest price since 2022, but don't know if I should take him. Your thoughts on Nickera?
I'm just not liking the inconsistency around Nickera. I think maybe you'll give a more positive response, Matt, because I know you don't mind him as an option this week. I like him from a real football perspective. Like, I think he's being used so well by the Sharkies, but his base has been consistently down. Even on the weekend, I think he only had like maybe 6 or 7 hit-ups throughout the game. It's just that he's getting a lot of attacking stats. I just don't like the inconsistency around him. The price is good, though.
So, yeah, I do have a few stats for you here, Jono. Base plus power on the weekend, 65, which is a season high. And he had 55 the week before that. So that's 2 good games in a row. That's really the first time all season that he's put 2 base plus power games above 50 for the season. He had a 61, which was his next best, but other than that, he hadn't had a game over 50 in base plus power since round 1. So that leads me a little bit to think that potentially he is back, like in terms of was he carrying a niggle or was he getting involved at all? On it from a pure base perspective, he's gone 41 back-to-back pure base.
Yeah, a lot of tackles there, not a lot of hit-ups, a lot of defense.
Yeah. No, but that's okay. They all count the same, mate. They all count the same.
Yeah. Matt, I can't get around that niggle theory because he looks so good in the Sharks attack taking on the line. I don't think it's a niggle issue.
I just don't know what these guys. I mean, we see it all the time. These guys just play through so much. Their bodies are just incredibly. They're warriors, and I think they can play through a lot of pain. And I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying that we've seen Nickera run hot and cold for a good few years now, and when he runs hot, he runs really hot. Like I think sure. If he can keep that base plus power up, Sharks can get the attacking stats. I like him as possibly the best 2RF purchase this week. I'd probably go that far. At 531K. I don't think, especially, and I had a conversation with someone at Ball Towers about this yesterday, especially if you are behind with your team value, rather than like it's too late in the season, you can get good cash generation options. Don't get me wrong. Like, you got Lawson who's, hasn't gone quite right yet. We might get Jed Stewart.
No.
Obviously like Bostock is an option to generate some cash, but the other option when your team value is not quite where it needs to be is you need to get underpriced guns, and Nickera is an underpriced gun. So, you need him to be a 70 averaging guy who you're going to pick up for 531K. So that's a route that I would go down if my team value is struggling. I'm probably not going to get him this week, but I think he's still going to be an excellent pickup at some point. As your sort of 5th 2RF, he's your 20th player in your squad for the run home. So I think he's that type of guy.
Makes sense.
Bluffmaster 29, aka Jay on X, asks, boys, what player are we looking at breaking this week just so I can avoid cheers? That's a little subtle dig at our watch-along curse that has come out of nowhere. Good bit of content on that today as well, Gramsy put out. Some clips from the watch-along, Jono. We broke Olakawatu. We broke Lehigh Hopewadi. Thankfully, there's no watch-along this week. We're going to bring that back next week. But who are we breaking? I think we're going to stay off breaking Jaden Campbell is the strategy this week, though, Jono.
Who's this we you keep saying, Matt? It's you. You're the common link between the two watch-alongs. There's no we. Who are you breaking?
Well, I'm breaking no one because I'm not doing the watch-along. I am bringing in Jerome Hughes, I think, and I'm bringing back Pappenhausen, having had to flip Teddy in last week. I'm getting Turbo out, so I suppose Jerome Hughes is who I'm breaking this week, but thanks for that, Jay. I'm not breaking anyone. Jerome Hughes going big this week. All right, Jono, down to some Talakai questions now. Popular purchase option this week at just over 300K. Downgrade option. So Rodney McGrath asked, do I bring in Talakai or Ramian on a price/job security basis for those two? This player will eventually move to my center wing number 7 spot. And Rodney is, as always, lets us know his rank 2440. Great rank from Rodney. What do you think on that one there, Jono, specifically? before, maybe, hang on. Sorry. Let's just get through the Talakai questions, then I'll let you talk generally about Talakai and we'll answer them. Michael on X asks, is Talakai a good trade to help me boost up the ranks for his head-to-head league? So, yeah, Talakai thoughts, Jono?
Got there.
Bit of a
Matt,
long-winded, yeah.
Very. I'm not that sold on Talakai as an option. I definitely looked at him for myself because I am looking for a second row forward downgrade option this week. So I did a bit of research. 2023 was his last full season where he played centre. He averaged 56 for the season, which is not a terrible average by any means. It's a good, strong average. And he had a very high floor. I think he only went sub 40 once that entire year. And there were no injury impacted games amongst that for him in 2023. His ceiling is maybe not as high as people are remembering. He went over 100 twice in 2023. Again, not terrible, but it was both times just over 100. I think a lot of people are thinking of the glory days of 2022 and that game where he marked up against Morgan Harper and effectively ended his NRL career, where he just went absolutely off and he was on 130 at halftime, ended on 160 plus. And I think people are thinking that's what Talakai is. Talakai, for the most part, was a super consistent, steady centre wing player. So his ceiling is there, but I don't think it's very consistent. The other thing that I'm really concerned about with Talakai is there are a couple of Sharks who aren't too far away. Stone Street is back potentially as soon as round 19. Round 20 is said to be the latest for Stone Street. That could force him back into the forward pack via moving Ronaldo into centres. There are people out there saying, no, Ronaldo's not a centre. They won't do that. Even if that happens, Maweni Hiroti is back in round 20 or round 21. So you might only be looking at 2 games of Talakai, 4 games, I'd say, at an absolute maximum before he moves back to that middle bench forward role. Tubes was chatting to me about this one, Matty, and he's saying there is a world, a 10% world, Tubes called it, where Talakai is so good that he just holds the centre spot. And that when Hiroti comes back, he just doesn't get back in the squad. What leads me against that is that the big fella, Tommy Hazelton's out for the year. I actually kind of think they need Talakai's punch through the middle off the bench. So I do think they'll try and get him back in. So, look, that's a long-winded answer, but I have done a bit of research around it to give that answer. But what are your thoughts?
Mate, excellent, superbly answered, expertly answered, let's call it.
Thank
You. Yeah, I think you're right that so he's trained as a middle all preseason and to play in the season. Obviously, he has utility average from the bench and he's been called on a lot to fill in at centre. Sharks have had so many outside back injuries during games this season that Cephas had to play a lot of centre and he's held himself pretty well. Like you say, I think people do have a bigger idea of what Cipher is in their minds and what he's going to produce, and your numbers there back that up. I don't mind that world that Tubes talks about. I think it's actually a bit bigger than 10%. Hiroti's out for an undetermined period of time, 4 to 6 weeks, they're saying, but who knows? I'm not sure that he walks straight back in if Cephas in good form. The one thing I will say, though, is that you bring him in, I think you need to be prepared to trade him out and have that in the back of your mind that he's going to be a trade in and trade out. Because if he does go back to the bench, he's an AE nightmare. You're never going to be able to play him, and it's just a disaster. So I think there are some very good range of outcomes. There's a little bingo for you, Jono. That bringing in Talakai does. It frees up cash and it allows you to upgrade elsewhere, and he might hold the spot. So if you think that's a great chance, go for it. I think he'll do well. I think he'll average 55, kind of like what you said. Good value for 300K.
Yep.
But just be prepared that you're gonna have to trade him out.
100%. I don't think it's a bad option.
Not for me. Not for me.
I don't think it's terrible. If you told me that he had the spot for 8 weeks, I'd jump on myself. I just think that it's too short term to get the big amount of price rise that you might want.
He's also could get you through the buy period before you go, okay, that's good. He's going to get me through the buys, make 100,000. If he can get a ton 1 week, get the big points play. He has had that one game this year where he looked sensational, set up those tries on when he filled in at right centre for Ramian one game. The Ramian question specific to Rodney, where he said Talakai or Ramian. If you're looking for that to be your 7th centre wing, I would go Ramian. I feel like we're waiting a long time for Ramian to do something, but yeah, that would be my steer there. He scored all right with a sin bin last week.
Yeah, and look, the price is good, 400K for Ramian, and he's not going to hurt you as an AE problem. You can play him at a pinch, and he's never going to affect your ability to loop anyone either.
Yep. 45 with a sin bin last week, so normalise that up to 80 minutes. You're looking at about a 60 there from Ramian, all in base plus power. So I'd be looking at Ramian for that extra 100K if I were you, Rodney. Yeah. Let's get down now to Reg Reagan on X, he loves a question, Reg. Good fan of the show. Bit of a longer question, this one, lads. I can bring in any two of the following: Kickhouse, C&K, Fermor, RTS, Brimson, or Tracy. Thoughts? How would we rank them? He's named a few guys here who are not playing this week, so let's maybe just put the buy as agnostic, Jono. Another one for the dictionary there for you. Let's just rank these guys for Reg.
Okay, hard to ask a Bo Lever when it comes to Bo Fermor because obviously there's a level of bias for Bo for me, but I do think he's a really good option. He's dropped under 600K now. His dual, his base is just so rock solid that he's never going to let you down. I'm a huge fan of Billy Kickout. I know he's on the bye this week. If Reg can hold off a week, I think he's a tremendous pickup. Tubes and I spoke about this on the Sunday Snap. He's never played better football than what he is right now, and that includes his grand final days at Penrith. His effort areas are unbelievable. That score he got on the weekend could have easily been bigger. He almost crossed for 2 or 3 tries. He got held up once, got chopped short a couple of times. I think he's a fantastic pickup. When it comes to guys like Brimo, I've seen him mention a bit, and again, on the Sunday Snap, Tubes and I spoke about him. One thing that's being a little bit lost in the shuffle is Kinney, I believe, is expected back around round 21, round 22. So Brimo at fullback doesn't seem like a long-term play. Did you haven't heard the same about Kinney? That was a bit of
I just wouldn't be shocked that No, I have heard the same. I just wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked to not see Kinney back this season.
Agreed.
Like,
but
with the nature of that injury.
Like, I think a lot of people forget that footballers are people. Like, if he's fit and ready to go, he's not going to be like, oh, yeah, I'll sit out for 7 weeks in the whole off-season. Like, he's going to want to play if he's good.
No, but there's a lot that needs to go right. Like, he dropped a ton of weight. He's obviously got to put all that back on.
Yeah.
There's a bit to know about their finals contention. The state of just his injury in general. Is he at risk? Like, I don't think there's anything concrete to say, yeah, he's going to be right to go in round 20, round 21 or round 22.
No, fair enough.
I would bet that he doesn't come back this year. In saying that, I don't like Brimson anyway. Like, yeah, he can score well. I don't know. He's got the Kinney risk. Not for me. I like Connor Tracy much better than Brimson.
Yeah, good price.
From next week. Plays every week. Great price. People are scarred from bringing him in for that 18 and 27 that he scored or whatever it was. I think he's a great run home 7th centre wing to play on matchups. I'd be looking at him. He could even finish in your top 18. I love Fermor. I'm a Bo Lever. You've made a Bo Lever out of me, Jono. I like Kickout as a pod. Probably Fermor slightly over Kickout, but not much in it. C&K I love as a pod, but just he's got positional issues there. Like, there's just too many good fullbacks for me to be risking C&K. I think that he can match them. I don't think that he can beat them. Not the top ones anyway. I think he can match them on a given stretch of games, and they've got great fixtures. And RTS is a good pod centre wing. I put him up as my pod of the week. I'm not going to buy him, but I will be looking at it. This is a great week to buy Warriors. Like Metcalf and RTS. If I didn't have to get Pappenhausen, I would be very, very serious on RTS this week. So a bit of a shame, but that's the way it bounces. So yeah, I'm going to go Tracy as my pick of that lot. Anyway,
I'm clear on Kickout. I think Kickout's the best pickup of that lot.
All right, couple of trade options here from Gunnar Say, aka RJ on X. He wants to know Lomax and Eli Katoa this round for trade-ins, or Jerome Hughes and Nikora. Can't go wrong with that, any of them, in my opinion, Jono. I'm not helping much there.
I'll get off the fence and I'll say Lomax and Eli Katoa. Do it. I think they're more premium. I would absolutely get those guys if I could.
Yep. I think that's fair. Eli Katoa is just the best trade-in for Olakuatu this week.
Yeah.
I forgot him when I said Nikora before. I should have said if you already own Eli Katoa, I think Nikora is the next best 2RF trade-in. And Emmett Davies on TikTok says sell Izzy Katoa for Jerome Hughes. Well done owning Izzy Katoa, John. I know you're the head of his fan club from a Supercoach perspective. I would have no problems making that trade though.
I would make the trade. I think, brave from Emmett Davies to pick him up. Well done. I didn't have the guts to do it, but it's worked out nice. Get him to Hughes. The price jump is pretty similar, so get onto it.
Second row chat now, Jono, and Red Seas, this has actually caused this has got a bit of chat amongst the ballers this week, and he wanted to know, why doesn't Kikau deserve a mention as a second row replacement for Ola Kawatu? Haven't heard any of the baller team mention him. And Tubes was quick on WhatsApp here, Jono, spiking that he mustn't be a Sunday Snap listener, Red Seas 3.
No, he didn't listen to the Sunday Snap on the weekend, and he clearly just never has, because Tubes has owned him for like 6 weeks now. So Kikau gets a run every single pod. And on the weekend, we spent time on the weekend, like probably a good 3-4 minutes, on why we thought Kikau was one of the most underrated options moving forward. So, yeah, I think he's a fantastic pickup.
He's got a sort of ball projection through around 20 of about 65 points per game, so very strong pickup. He's 620k now, so he's getting up there a little bit, but still a good pod to own for the run home for me. I'll have a look at him at some point. Don't know when that is. This week, the reason that he's not getting a mention as a second row replacement for Ola Kawatu this week specifically is because he's not playing this week. So I'm sure he will get a good mention next week for those who don't manage to sell Ola Kawatu out of their teams as a second row option. Thomas, aka Teabag on X, asks, would you consider Toya a good trade out for Fermor? I'm going to say yes to that one. Bobby T can be sold very comfortably unless you need him for a number this week. And Fermor is a sensational pickup at centre wing.
Yeah, and it's actually a downgrade of 20k. So do that. I like it.
Perfect. Upgrade Hubner to Fermor or Clark, asks Jacob Byron on Facebook. What do you think of that one, Jono?
It's actually a pretty tough call. Like, on the surface of it, it seems that Clark's the more premium option, but it has to be noted that his minutes have dropped back to 50 the last couple of weeks for the Warriors. And with all the young forwards they have, I can see the minutes sticking around that 50 to 55 minute mark. I don't think they need him. He has produced in those smaller minutes. It's almost like he stepped up his work rate, but less minutes is still not ever going to be a good thing for a forward's output in the middle, is it? So I think if you had have asked me 3 weeks ago, clearly Clark. I think at Fermor's price of 590k, and as Matt, another bingo one, the dual is handy for both Fermor. I think I'd slightly lean Big Bo now.
I'm the same. This week specifically, I'd go Bo. This can change a bit. I just want to see Clark's minutes back up. If we see Clark's minutes back up and the 50 minutes becomes a bit more of an aberration then, because they've obviously lost Barnett, and I think everyone kind of expected that once they lost Barnett that his minutes would maintain at that 60 to 65 mark. But we haven't seen that. So, yeah, I'd go Fermor this week for sure there. I'm still very keen on Clark long term if his minutes can pick up. I think he's the better asset provided he gets the minutes. But we shall see. Burner Central, a.k.a. Toon on X, asks, trade Turbo or Hubner to Bostock? Surprising didn't get as many questions on Bostock. I don't like Bostock as a trade-in, but I can see why people do. And I think there are good outcomes for Bostock in the sense that the fixtures are so good the next 2 weeks that why can't the Dolphins put on another 50 points just like they have the last 3 weeks? If they do that, then Bostock's going to make 200, 250k and you're off to the races, points with cash. I just think you need to temper your expectations on points. He was averaging 42 for a reason before his 176 on the weekend, Jono. So just be tread with caution, but specifically out of Turbo or Hubner, who would you be looking to move on?
Turbo. Yeah. Matt, we watched him in that watch along on Friday night last week. It was really tough watching him kicking off the left foot, early shuffles out to the man outside him, not digging into the line, a couple of try-scoring opportunities that he would normally ice with his eyes closed, and he just couldn't do it. So I think you have to trade Turbo. There's all this noise now about Lehigh Hopper going back to fullback and Turbo pushing into the centres, which makes him even less valuable as a SuperCoach option. And Hubner, look, he's fine. He's not going to lose too much money at the moment. His minutes are sitting around that 40 mark. I do think if Kaloa Matangi is out this weekend, which is obviously still a chance of being out this week, that'll see him get another 10 to 15 minutes, which I know isn't great, but I think Turbo's the bigger priority for me. What are your thoughts? Do you agree?
If I was trading Turbo, I wouldn't be to Bostock. That's the thing. It'd be fullback or flex. So I think Turbo is a more priority trade out. But specific to this question, I would actually trade Hubner to Bostock because I would just take a flyer on Turbo for round 17 and 18. If in this exact scenario, if I wanted Bostock and I had to pick between Hubner and Turbo, I would be picking Hubner to trade. But I think Turbo is a sell as well. So that's my answer. All right. Matty Chandler asks, Billy Smith to Karapani or to upgrade Hubner, but who should he upgrade Hubner to?
Can I just say I wouldn't do Billy Smith to Karapani this week, and then it kind of makes the question moot, because I would want to see Karapani named for his third game. He looked really good in his first game of the year, but Selwyn Cobbo and Dean Mariner aren't hurt. They're dropped. And I do think that Cobbo's going to come back into that team eventually. Look, Madge does like to pick these guys who go well and kind of get in with their work ethic, and Karapani showed that, but I would want to see him named a third time. If he comes out this week and has a disaster game and Cobbo kills it in Q Cup, I think Karapani's straight out and Cobbo's in. So I wouldn't even do the first part of that trade to be able to consider the second.
I'd actually, if I was buying this week, and I can't recommend it because I don't like his reserve grade stats at all, but if I was buying a centre wing downgrade, I'd actually go for Jed Stewart over Karapani this week.
Yeah,
even though it's his first game.
The word out of Canberra is that it's his spot for the next 10 weeks. So he's earned it on merit. The boys have said to Ricky that Ricky didn't want to pick him. I don't know if it's all narrative, but I love it. Ricky didn't want to pick him, but the boys said, no, he's playing well. He deserves it. But Matt, it is good. I have looked at those New South Wales Cup stats as well. Not a massive try scorer, Jed, and not a massive worker. He just seems like the kind of guy who might be a solid, does a job man, as opposed to being a big SuperCoach option. But we'll see.
Agree. And we do know that when fathers do pick their sons in the team, it's quite difficult to get them out of the team. So
what do you mean? Is that happening anywhere else?
No, it's not. Not especially not at the St George Illawarra Dragons.
Or at the best example of that for me, the classic, is Chris Anderson and Jared Anderson at the Sharks and the Storm. That's the all-time.
Some great ones. What about Sam Stone, and what was his dad's name? Rick Stone.
Oh yeah, Stone. That's right. I forgot about him.
Stones.
That's a good one.
Please let us know. Drop us in a few father-son coach combos. You're right. Chris Anderson there was a couple of Chris Anderson ones. There was Jared Anderson and there was Ben Anderson at the Storm.
Oh, Ben, I forgot about him. Far out.
Yeah. You got a couple in there. Both terrible players. Awful.
Yeah, not strong. Not good at all.
No. And I will say that the Panthers have got it sorted, though, with Nathan and Ivan. I think Nathan's got that spot. It's okay.
That's a hard one to avoid.
Let's get on with it now. Dan on TikTok asks, Jaden Brayley cash. Can he downgrade him from Jazz to Jaden Brayley? Jazz has high break even. He was on the bench last game. He's obviously not playing. He had a Cat 1 HIA. Brayley still starting and cheap as chips. We had a bit of a look at this one, Jono. Brayley got 72 minutes. Crossland's at lock. I don't know. I don't love it, but I don't love it. They'll have more and more players coming back. Brayley's off to the Raiders next year. That could really go wrong at any time. And Brayley is a AE nightmare. He's not when he does get minutes, he doesn't even score that well.
I think I haven't looked at Dan's team, but I'd rather nuff him out. If you're looking for a downgrade option, I understand wanting to get rid of Jazz. It makes sense now. Yeah, exactly. Get him down to going and nuff him out and just bank that cash.
Agree. Harry, we finally got back to Harry's question. Harry from X, he asks, if you are trying to upgrade your centre wings, who are you looking to? And I think we're pretty agreed here, Jono. There's only one really great centre wing upgrade this week.
Yeah, it's Zach Lomax, I think, is the clear-cut option for this week if you need to upgrade this week. Matt, I know you have some questions around with Mitch Moses out, how that might affect Lomax's output, and you have some concerns there. For me, yes, it probably does impact his upside and Parramatta's strengths a little bit, but his base plus power is just so good. He's got that goal kicking. I think he's a great option. I would prefer to wait a week and get Kiraz. If I had to make the choice between getting Lomax this week or getting Kiraz next week, I would wait that week and get Kiraz. I think he's much more essential.
Yeah, I don't know. I do have concerns about. I'd prefer. Don't get me wrong. I prefer that Moses and then to a lesser extent Brown were playing for Parramatta for Lomax, but I think Lomax gets it done anyway. He goes in looking for the ball when he's on the wing. His work rate is essential. He didn't have Mitch Moses last year when he played on the wing at St George, and he was top performing centre wing.
Yeah, Kyle.
He had Kyle and a bit of Benny Hunt. So I think that Lomax is a fantastic option. I would have no issue at all bringing him in this week, and I want to bring him in this week, but I just can't really make it work now. That I stuffed around with Tedesco last week, which got me some points, but great matchup. Titans at home. I'd have no problems. He's the best upgrade this week at centre wing for me.
Matt, what about if you do have? What if it is a Lomax versus Kidaz decision? Like, what if there's people who bring in Lomax this week means they can't get Kidaz? What would you recommend there? Wait.
I'd probably look to try and upgrade it to RF if I could instead. If it meant one of them, I'd probably go Kiraz next week. There is a little bit of doubt. Like Kiraz, obviously, we know now that he's definitely next cab off the rank for the Blues for the outside backs. Given he got called into camp for Toto cover. Like, you wouldn't really want to buy him in 17 and then him not turn up in 18. They got the Panthers next week. Look, I'd probably still buy him, but just depending on my round 18 numbers. But yeah, Lomax you obviously get for this week and next. So I'd have no problem. Like, they both play between them, they both play 2 out of the next 3. So yeah, I'd have no problem with either of them. They're both end game centre wings, so that's fine. Next question, Jono. Let me have a look here. Peter Campbell on X asks, I have Nathan and Nico. Is Nico the sell to Hughes and save trades on Nathan? Or with the possible leg injury to Nathan, does that make him a better sell? This is really hard.
So hard.
There's no right answer. This is no right answer territory. I am in this exact position that Peter's asking, and I want to get Hughes. I'm going to sell Nathan. I want Nathan back, but Nico's going fine in a terrible Sharks team lately. Like, he's still got the good role. Tricky is in even worse form. So yeah, I still think that I want Nico, but I'm very scared of Cleary from round 19 onwards. This is actually making me think, but well, yeah, I'll say sell Cleary with the groin injury. There's a bit of uncertainty around that now. That also makes him less likely to back up after Origin 3 into round 19, which actually seals it for me.
Yeah, I think it is hard. If you had have asked me on Tuesday, I would have said sell Nico and keep Cleary. But after watching Cleary get around last night with that injury, it didn't look great. I think the tough thing about selling Cleary is that then it is an extra trade because you are definitely going to want to bring Cleary back. Whereas if you sell Nico, you probably just ride out Hughes and Cleary for the rest of the year. So
I don't know.
That's the other thing.
I think there are scenarios where you don't have to bring Cleary back. I think you could like we've seen this year. He's not the same beast as he's been previously, and even last year to an extent. Like you could have taken Cleary on last year and it would have worked out fine. I think you might need to bring him back, and I think you can run him in the flex is another option. So I'm gonna hold Nico, I think, and hope him and Hughes fire.
Look, this sounds like the justification of a man who's trading Cleary and is nervous that he won't be able to bring him back with how few trades he has left and is trying to justify.
You have to make trade-offs in this game, like all the time. You can't have it all. So I think you can just make with the information in front of you. And all I'm saying there is Cleary is not must have for the run home.
I disagree.
Yes, he might very well be the top scoring halfback. I just don't think it's like if he averages 5 points more than the other two, but you save a trade, fine. Like I think anyway, that's that. But you've made up those points in this period before he actually comes back. Then I think that would justify it. Anyway, I don't know. That's like I said. There's no right answer there. That just comes down to what your gut call is. There's no doubt from a projection basis that Cleary is going to be the highest projected halfback for the run home. So
yeah, I think what
we
both
see.
I think what we both agree on is that we would sell Nath over Nico this week to get Hughes. I think where we disagree slightly is I would be making sure I have the trades to get him back. You're more open to not getting him back, but I think we both agree on the original question: Nath over Nico.
Agree. Yeah. Camstar Mac on X asks, he couldn't get Hiroti to anyone he liked. Is it worth copying an AE this week as the lowest score will drop out? Also, is it crazy not to play Tino? Another question there. Not crazy to not play Tino if your squad is very strong, but I would still be banking on 50 minimum for Tino, 50 points, that is. So I would play Tino if I own him, which I will. Hiroti to anyone he liked was, like if you've got 18 or 19, then I think copping an AE is fine. What do you think, Jono?
Yeah, look, it's hard to say without seeing his team. If he doesn't have any kind of big AE nightmares, obviously, like a lot of people own Lawson, but he's on the bye this week, so he's not a concern. And it doesn't seem like there's too many well-owned AE nightmares out there right now. So I think on that, basing it off that, I think it's okay for this week. You can even get a free loop.
Correct, free loop. So you can't go too wrong there. Jono, that's it, mate. Well done. Good debut on the Q&A. You've done very well. How you feeling heading into round 16?
Yeah, feeling good. I feel a little bit untouchable at the moment with what I'm doing in SuperCoach. Like last week, I brought in Kurt Donahue and that worked out. Now this week, I'm looking at a huge pot in Tallis Duncan, and I think that feeling of not being that untouchable feeling might come back to bite me this week. We'll see how we go.
No questions on Tallis Duncan tonight, mate.
Yeah, no, there might be a few people questioning me for bringing him in, but there's no specific questions about him, surprisingly.
No. Good luck with that one, mate. He's not my cup of tea. I'll stick with Nickera. Thanks very much at a similar price. But best of luck. And thanks to all the listeners. It's been a big week. Make sure you stick around for the Snap this Sunday with Jono and Tubes. And we will see you for the Tuesday Q&A pod next week. Make sure you're checking out Baller socials all weekend and head to baller.live for the fastest SuperCoach live scores and the most accurate projections in SuperCoach. Jono, anything to add to finish us off, mate?
You beauty.